The wrench slipped from my trembling fingers and clattered into the sink, echoing like a gunshot in the steam-filled bathroom. "Evan, what the hell do you mean you've been watching me?" I whispered, my voice cracking as his hazel eyes, those damn eyes that had haunted my dreams for weeks, locked onto mine with a desperation that mirrored my own buried ache. In that split second, as the hot water hissed and sprayed wildly from the busted pipe, I realized the leak wasn't in the plumbing. It was in the fragile walls we'd both pretended to build around our hearts. I never thought a simple call to the local hardware store would unravel everything. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind of crisp Midwest morning where the leaves crunch underfoot like brittle bones, and the air smells of wood smoke and regret. My name's Connor Hayes, 32, a graphic designer scraping by in this sleepy corner of Ohio, where the factories shuttered years ago and dreams go to rust alongside the old rail yards. I'd bought this creaky Victorian fixer-upper on a whim 2 years back, thinking it'd be my fresh start after the divorce. Yeah, the one that left me questioning every damn thing about love, especially the kind that society whispers you shouldn't chase. The pipe under the bathroom sink had given out overnight, flooding the floorboards with what felt like my own pent-up tears. I dialed up Pete's Plumbing, the only outfit in town that didn't charge an arm and a leg, and paced the hallway while the dispatcher promised someone by noon. When the doorbell rang, I yanked it open expecting some grizzled old-timer with a beer gut and a bad attitude. Instead, there stood Evan Whitaker, all 6 feet of him, broad-shouldered and windswept, toolbox in one calloused hand and a faded flannel shirt clinging to his frame like it was painted on. Connor Hayes. His voice was gravelly, laced with that easy Midwestern drawl that makes your stomach flip. Up close, he was even better than the glimpses I'd caught at the county fair last summer. Dark hair curling at the nape of his neck, a jawline sharp enough to cut glass, and eyes like polished oak, warm but hiding storms. Yeah, that's me. The bathroom's a war zone. Come on in. I stepped aside, suddenly hyper-aware of my rumpled t-shirt and the fact that I hadn't shaved in days. He nodded, wiping his boots on the mat with a politeness that felt foreign in my cluttered life, and followed me down the hall. The bathroom was a mess. Porcelain cracked, tiles buckled from the water damage, and that relentless drip 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 mocking me from the cabinet. Evan knelt down without a word, his jeans stretching taut over thighs that spoke of manual labor and zero gym memberships. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, trying not to stare as he assessed the damage. "Looks like the elbow joint's corroded through," he muttered, his fingers tracing the pipe with a gentleness that made my pulse stutter. "Happens in these old houses. Give me 20 to shut off the main and get this sorted." He worked efficiently, vanishing into the basement while I brewed coffee in the kitchen, the aroma doing little to calm the nerves buzzing under my skin. Why was I nervous? It was just a plumber. Just a guy fixing a leak. But there was something about Evan, maybe the way he'd volunteered at the fair's LGBTQ booth last year, handing out pamphlets with a quiet pride that cut through the small-town sideways glances. I caught his eye then, across the crowd, and felt that spark, the one you ignore because admitting it means inviting the world to judge. By the time he emerged, wiping sweat from his brow with the back of his hand, the drip had stopped. He straightened up, flashing a grin that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "All patched. Won't give you trouble again unless you decide to host a flood party." His laugh was low, infectious, and I found myself chuckling despite the chaos. "Thanks, man. How much do I owe you?" I pulled out my wallet, but he waved it off, leaning against the counter with an ease that filled the room. "First one's on the house for a neighbor. Saw your truck in the driveway. Figured you're the new guy on Elm Street. Elm Street. Of course. In a town this small, everyone knew everyone else's business, or thought they did. We talked then, easy as breathing, about the house's quirks, the squeaky third step, the attic that whispered ghosts at night, about Cleveland Browns games gone wrong and the best dive bar for wings. He lingered over that second cup of coffee, his knee brushing mine under the table once, twice, an accident that wasn't. By the time he left, promising to check back if anything else burst, I was replaying his smile in my head like a loop track. That night, as rain pattered against the roof, I lay awake, the divorce papers still tucked in my nightstand drawer like a loaded gun. My ex, Mark, had been the safe choice, straight, stable, a high school teacher who loved me enough to marry, but not enough to fight the whispers when our just friends phase blurred into something more. We'd called it off after a year, him citing irreconcilable differences in front of the judge. But really, it was the fear. The fear of what loving a man like me meant in a place where rainbows were seasonal decorations, not lifelines. Evan showed up again a week later, unannounced, with a six-pack of craft IPA and a story about a busted faucet at the library. Figured you could use company, he said, shrugging like it was nothing, but his eyes said everything. We cracked beers on the porch swing, the October chill nipping at our heels, and talked until the stars wheeled overhead. He was 35, divorced too, his wife a casualty of his coming out, the fallout leaving him with a pickup truck full of tools and a heart full of what-ifs. Small town, he said, staring into the dark. Makes you feel like you're shouting into a void sometimes. I nodded, my hand inches from his on the swing's armrest. Yeah. But the void shouts back if you listen. Our fingers touched then, tentative as a question. Neither of us pulled away. The weeks blurred into a rhythm I hadn't known I craved. Evan became a fixture, fixing the loose banister one afternoon, then staying for dinner, his laughter filling the dining room like sunlight after storm. We'd cook together, bumping hips in the narrow kitchen, his hand lingering on my waist as he reached for the salt. Conversations deepened. His childhood on a dairy farm, milking cows at dawn, my escape from a conservative family in Cincinnati, trading Bible studies for art school in Chicago. He confessed the ache of hiding, the hookups in Cleveland motels that left him emptier than before. I shared the nights I'd spent sketching his face from memory, erasing and redrawing until the lines felt like confessions. One evening, as snow dusted the evergreens outside, we crossed the line. It started with a movie, some indie flick about lost boys in New York, the kind that tugs at your soul. Halfway through, his thumb traced circles on my palm, and I turned, our breaths mingling in the lamplight. "Connor," he murmured, voice rough as sandpaper. "I've wanted this since the fair." Our kiss was fire, slow at first, tentative, then hungry, his stubble scraping my chin as hands roamed, mapping scars and secrets. We tumbled to the couch, clothes shedding like old skin, his body solid and warm against mine, every touch a promise whispered in the dark. He was gentle, reverent, tracing the curve of my hip with lips that tasted like beer and hope. In his arms, the world narrowed to the press of skin, the gasp of breath, the way he said my name like a prayer. After, tangled in sheets upstairs, he held me close, his heartbeat a steady drum against my back. "This feels right," he whispered into my hair. Like coming home, I believed him. God, how I believed him. But leaks have a way of spreading, unseen until the foundation cracks. It was mid-November when the first fracture appeared. I'd been at the community center, volunteering for the holiday food drive. Evan's idea, his way of giving back without the preaching. The center was a hub for the town's overlooked single moms, laid-off vets, kids with eyes too old for their faces. As I sorted canned goods, my phone buzzed with a text from him, running late. Client in Akron. Dinner still on. Always, I replied, a smile tugging my lips despite the chill seeping through the drafty windows. He arrived disheveled, flannel untucked, a shadow under his eyes that he blamed on traffic. We ate spaghetti by candlelight, romantic, I thought, until he dodged questions about his day. Just pipes and bullshit, he said, forcing a grin. That night, in bed, his touch felt distant, like he was there but not, his mind adrift in waters I couldn't navigate. The doubts crept in slow, a drip at a time. He'd vanish for hours, claiming overtime jobs, returning with excuses that rang hollow. I found myself scrolling his socials late at night, the glow of my phone illuminating the empty side of the bed. His feed was sparse. Work selfies, Brown's memes, a tagged photo from the fair with a group of buddies, all straight-laced and smirking. No hint of the man who'd traced constellations on my back with his fingertips. Then came the night of the winter festival. The town square glittered with lights, mulled cider steaming in the air, families bundled against the frost. Evan had promised we'd go as us, hold hands under the stars, steal kisses by the bonfire. But as the crowd swelled, he pulled away, his laugh too loud when old high school pals clapped him on the back. "Hey, Whitaker, still fixing leaks or what?" One jeered, a burly guy named Trent with a wedding ring glinting like a warning. "Leaks and leaks," Evan shot back, his arm slung casual over Trent's shoulder, the easy camaraderie twisting something sharp in my gut. I stood apart, nursing a hot chocolate, watching as they huddled, heads close, voices low. When he finally wandered back, cheeks flushed from the cold or something else, his eyes skated past mine. "Sorry, man. Got caught up." We left early, the drive home silent save for the crunch of tires on salted roads. In the driveway, I turned to him, the words burning. "Evan, are we hiding? Is this just—" "It's not like that," he cut in, too quick, his hand on the door handle. "Town's small, Connor. You know how it is." I did. But knowing didn't make it sting less. The real flood hit 2 weeks before Christmas. I'd come home early from a freelance gig in Columbus, the road slick with ice, my mind replaying Evan's latest vanishing act, an emergency call that stretched from lunch to midnight. The house was dark, but his truck sat in the drive, headlights off like a secret. Laughter spilled from the back door, low, familiar, laced with something darker. I slipped in through the kitchen, heart hammering, and froze. There, in the dim glow of the fridge light, stood Evan, backed against the counter, Trent's hands fisted in his shirt. Their mouths crashed together, desperate and raw, Evan's fingers digging into Trent's hips like anchors in a storm. It lasted seconds, eternity, before they broke apart, Evan's face paling as he spotted me in the shadows. "Connor." His voice broke, plea wrapped in panic. Trent spun, eyes widening, then narrowing to slits. "Shit. This ain't what. Save it," I snarled, the words tasting like bile. I backed away, the cold air slapping my face as I stumbled into the yard, snow soaking through my jeans. Evan followed, coatless, breath fogging in frantic bursts. Wait, please. It's not God. Connor. Let me explain. I whirled on him, fists clenched against the urge to swing. Explain what? That the man who confessed his heart to me is still playing both sides? That I'm just the side piece in your small-town charade? He flinched, snowflakes catching in his lashes like unshed tears. Trent. It's old. From before. He showed up, drunk, needing to talk. I swear, nothing happened. Not like with you. With me. I laughed, bitter and hollow. What are we, Evan? A leak you patch when it's convenient. His hand reached for mine, trembling. You're everything. This us, it's real. I've been scared. Okay. Scared of losing the life I've scraped together here. But losing you? That's worse. I pulled away, the confession hanging between us like smoke. Too late for that. He didn't follow me inside. I locked the door, slid down against it, sobs racking my frame as the pipe in the bathroom, our first fix, dripped mockingly in the silence. The days that followed were a blur of numb routine, the kind where you function on autopilot but feel every gear grinding. Work emails blurred into sketches of fractured hearts. My laptop screen a poor substitute for the warmth Evan's body used to chase away the chill. The house, once a sanctuary, now echoed with ghosts. His forgotten wrench on the workbench, the half-empty IPA in the fridge, the indent on the couch where we'd first tangled. I avoided the town square, the hardware store, anywhere his truck might rumble by. But in a place like Milford, Ohio, avoidance is a joke. Whispers slithered through the grocery aisles. Saw Connor looking rough. Wonder if that plumber's to blame? Mrs. Hargrove at the post office shot me pitying glances. Her lips pursed like she'd tasted the scandal herself. It burned, that small-town microscope, turning private pain into public sport. Evan texted once, twice, then a barrage. Please talk to me. I fucked up. Let me make it right. I deleted them unread, each ping a fresh knife twist. But deletion doesn't erase memory. At night, I'd replay that kitchen scene, not the kiss, but his eyes, wild with regret, pleading for the absolution I wasn't ready to give. It was Lila, my barista/therapist at the corner coffee shop, who dragged me out of the pit. A fiery redhead in her 40s, twice divorced and unapologetically queer, she clocked my vibe from day one. Darlin', she drawled over my third black coffee, you look like death warmed over. Bill, or I'll spike this with whiskey. I cracked, the words tumbling out in a rush. The plumber, the passion, the betrayal. She listened, chin propped on her hand, then slid a scone my way. Men are idiots, Connor. Especially the ones who love too quiet. But you're allowed to be mad. Hell, you're allowed to walk away. Walking away feels like giving up, I muttered, crumbling the pastry. Nah. It's reclaiming. What's the alternative? Pretending that kiss didn't happen? Honey, truth's the only pipe that doesn't leak forever. Her words stuck, festering as I drove home through flurries that blanketed the fields in white. Reclaiming. What did that even look like? I pulled into the drive, the house looming like a judgment, and that's when I saw it. Evan's truck, parked curbside, him huddled on the porch steps, breath clouding in the dusk. Go away, I said, slamming the car door harder than intended. But he rose, slow, hands shoved in his pockets, snow dusting his beanie. Just hear me out. 5 minutes. Then I'll go, if that's what you want. I wanted to scream, to shove him into the drift and watch him flounder. But the cold seeped into my bones, and curiosity or masochism won. Fine. Talk. We retreated inside, the radiator clanking like reluctant applause. He shrugged off his coat, revealing a thermal that hugged his chest, and for a traitorous second, I remembered the taste of his skin. He paced the living room, words spilling halting. Trent and I. It was high school. Stolen moments in the barn. Promises we couldn't keep. He married his high school sweetheart to fix himself, same as I did. But it never stuck. When he showed up that night, it was desperation, not desire. He kissed me, and I froze, didn't push him away fast enough. But Connor, it meant nothing. You're the one who means everything. I sank onto the armchair, arms crossed like armor. Everything? You hit us, Evan. At the festival, with your buddies, I felt like a ghost. He stopped pacing, kneeling before me, his hands hovering near my knees. I was scared. My ex-wife. She took half my savings when I came out, spread rumors that tanked my business for months. Dad disowned me, said I shamed the family name. This town is all I've got left. But hiding you, it's killing me more than any rumor. His voice cracked, and up close, I saw the toll, the shadows under his eyes, the tremor in his jaw. Part of me softened, the romantic fool who'd fallen for his laugh. But the hurt roared louder. Scared of what? Of loving me? Or of what it says about you? Both. He met my gaze, unflinching. Loving you says I'm done pretending. And that terrifies me, because what if it's not enough? What if the town's hate wins? The room hung heavy, the clock ticking like a heartbeat. I reached out, tentative, brushing a snowflake from his collar. Then we fight it together. Or we don't. But no more secrets. He nodded, leaning into my touch, and in that fragile truce, we kissed, not fire this time, but embers, slow and searching. It led us upstairs, bodies rediscovering rhythms, his whispers apologies etched in sweat-slick skin. I love you, he gasped against my throat, and I believed him, even as doubt lingered like frost on the window. Christmas came wrapped in tentative joy. We hosted a small dinner, Lila and her girlfriend, a couple from the food drive, the table groaning under turkey and pie. Evan carved the bird with steady hands, his foot hooked around my ankle under the cloth, a secret anchor. Laughter flowed, real and warm, chasing shadows from the corners. Later, by the tree we'd strung with mismatched lights, he pulled me close, his breath tickling my ear. This is what I want. Out loud, but peace is fleeting in stories like ours. The new year dawned with a call from Trent's wife, her voice shrill over the line. Stay away from my husband, you pervert. I know what you two are. Click. The accusation hung, venomous, and soon the town buzzed. Notes on my truck. Glares at the pump. Evan's jobs dried up. Pete's dispatched him to out-of-town gigs, muttering about complications. We clung tighter, nights a blur of takeout and tangled limbs, but the strain showed. Arguments flared over nothing, forgotten groceries, late texts, each a proxy for the fear gnawing at our edges. We could leave, I suggested one stormy evening, thunder rumbling like discontent. Chicago's got space for us. He shook his head, staring at the rain-lashed panes. And run? Again, I can't keep fleeing. Connor. Not from this. Then what? Let them win. His silence was answer enough. A chasm widening between heart and home. February's bite sharpened the edges of everything. The cold wind slicing through coats. The icicles on the eaves like frozen accusations. Evan buried himself in work, taking every out-of-town repair, his absences stretching from days to a week. Gotta keep the lights on, he'd say, kissing my forehead before vanishing into the dawn, his taillights fading like a bad omen. I filled the voids with design gigs, late nights at the drafting table, but the house felt hollow, echoes amplifying the drip of uncertainty. One Friday, after a 12-hour stint in Toledo, he stumbled in at midnight, reeking of cheap motel soap and something sharper, whiskey, maybe, or regret. I was waiting in the kitchen, a mug of tea cooling between my palms. "Rough day?" I asked, voice neutral as glass. He dropped his keys on the counter, the clink too loud. Client was a nightmare. Pipe burst midwinter, flooded the basement. Boss docked my pay for the overtime. He leaned against the fridge, rubbing his temples, but his eyes dodged mine, flicking to the floor like it held secrets. I set the mug down, slow. "And that's all." His jaw tightened. "What are you fishing for, Connor?" "The truth. You've been distant." Again, the words hung, sharp as the shears in the junk drawer. He laughed, short and bitter. "Distant? I'm busting my ass so we don't lose this place. What do you want? A play-by-play of every flush I fix. I want you here." I shot back, heat rising. "Not half in this, half chasing ghosts." "Ghosts?" He straightened, fire in his eyes. "You think I'm pining for Trent? After everything? Then prove it. Tell me where you go, who you see. Or is that too much for the man who's done hiding?" The slap of his palm on the counter echoed, silencing us both. "You don't get it. Out there, in those basements, it's just me and the pipes. No judgments, no whispers. Here, it's us against the world. And I'm tired, Connor. Tired of fighting for scraps." I recoiled, the words landing like blows. "Scraps? Is that what I am now?" He deflated, reaching for me, but I stepped back. "No, God, no. You're my everything. But this town, it's suffocating. I need space to breathe." Space. The word tasted like ash. "Or an out." We didn't speak after that. He showered alone, the water running long, and slipped into bed with a muttered goodnight. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling cracks like fault lines, wondering if love was just another leak we couldn't patch. The betrayal resurfaced in fragments, pieced together from Lila's gossip and my own sleuthing, late-night scrolls through deleted texts, the faint cologne on his collar that wasn't mine. Trent had been calling. Anonymous tips from blocked numbers. He's lying. Always will. I confronted Evan over breakfast, the toaster popping like gunfire. "Is it him? Still?" My voice trembled, fork stabbing eggs I couldn't eat. He paused, coffee halfway to his lips. "Trent? We haven't spoken since." "Bullshit." I slid my phone across the table, screenshot glaring. A missed call from an unknown number, time-stamped during his Toledo trip. Same area code. Coincidence? His face drained of color. "That's not Connor. Listen." "No." "You listen." I stood, chair scraping. "I trusted you. Gave you my heart, this house, my goddamn soul. And for what? To play second fiddle to your high school regret. It's not like that. He surged up, hands fisting the tablecloth. Trent's spiraling. Divorce papers served. Job lost. He calls because he thinks I'm his lifeline, the one who gets it. But I hang up. Every time, doubt clawed deeper. Or just when it's convenient, the argument escalated, voices rising until the neighbor's dog barked in protest. He stormed out, toolbox in hand, leaving me with the echo of slammed doors and a heart fractured anew. Days turned to a week of radio silence, the house a tomb of unspoken accusations. I threw myself into the community center, organizing a queer youth meetup, Evan's old idea, now mine by default. Kids showed up tentative, faces painted with markers to hide bruises, stories spilling like confessions. One boy, 16 and fierce, gripped my hand during a sharing circle. "How do you know when it's real?" he asked, eyes wide. "You fight for it," I said, throat tight. "Even when it hurts." Lila cornered me after, her hug fierce. "Heard about the blowout. You okay?" "No." Honesty was a relief. "But I will be." That night, a knock shattered the quiet. Evan stood on the stoop, drenched from a sudden squall, a manila envelope clutched in white-knuckled fingers. "Don't say anything. Just read this." I took it, paper-sodden, and shut the door soft. Inside, under the hall light, I unfolded the contents. A letter, his handwriting jagged. "Connor, I fucked up again. Not with Trent, with you. I pushed because I'm scared you'll see me, really see me, and walk. But here's the truth. I love you. Messy, broken, all of it. If you'll have me, I'll quit hiding. We'll face the town, the hate, together. Or I'll go, if that's your peace. Yours, Evan." Tears blurred the ink, the words a lifeline in the storm. I stepped outside, rain mingling with my own. He hadn't moved, shivering under the porch light. "Evan," I whispered, envelope crumpling in my fist. "Why didn't you say this sooner?" Thought actions mattered more. His voice was raw, eyes searching mine. "But words, they fix what I broke." I pulled him inside, our kiss salt and storm, bodies pressing urgent against the wall. We stripped in the hallway, water pooling on the floorboards, his hands mapping apologies on my skin. Upstairs, it was catharsis, fierce, unyielding, his name a mantra on my lips as we shattered and reformed. Afterward, spent and entwined, he traced my spine. "No more secrets?" "None." I sealed it with a kiss, believing, for the first time, in patches that hold. Spring teased with thaws, mud season turning roads to slurry, mirroring the slow melt of our wounds. We went public, hand in hand at the diner, his arm around me during the Easter parade. The stares came, the murmurs, but so did allies. Lila's cheers, the food drive crew's nods, even Pete grunting approval over coffee. Evan's jobs trickled back, steadier now, his truck a familiar rumble in the drive. But conflict brews in calm waters. Trent's shadow loomed larger, his wife's divorce filing exploding into town lore, allegations of affairs, naming Evan as the other man. It hit the local paper, a smear in grainy print, local plumber entangled in scandal. Calls flooded Pete's, clients canceling, Evan's reputation a casualty. He took it stoic at first, shoulders squared as he sanded floors in silence. But nights brought the cracks. Tossed sleep, mutters of why me? I held him through it, whispering assurances. But the betrayal festered, not from Trent, but from the town that judged us both. One evening, as we grilled burgers in the backyard, first green shoots pushing through soil, his phone buzzed. He glanced, paled, and silenced it. Who? I asked, casual, but the edge was there. Trent. Again. He flipped a patty too hard, juices hissing. Says he needs to talk. In person. Don't. The word was steel. He's poison. Evan set the tongs down, turning to me, grill smoke curling between us. What if he is? What if ignoring him makes it worse? The paper already. Screw the paper. I stepped close, hands on his arms. This is us now. Not him. His eyes searched mine, turmoil swirling. I know. But part of me wonders if I could have saved him back then. The admission hung, a third wheel in our garden. I swallowed hurt. And what about saving us? He pulled me into a hug. Fierce. Burger forgotten. You're right. Always. But doubt. Once seated. Roots deep. Summer scorched in like a fever dream. Humidity thick as unspoken fears, turning the Victorian into a sweatbox of creaks and sighs. Evan and I navigated the minefield of normalcy. Picnics by the river, where fireflies danced like hesitant confessions. Lazy Sundays with the windows open, his head in my lap as I read aloud from dog-eared paperbacks. Love, in its quiet moments, felt invincible, a bomb against the town's simmering grudge. Yet Trent's specter refused burial. Anonymous letters arrived. Postmarked local, he's using you. Just like he used me. I burned them in the sink. Flames licking blue, but the ash lingered in Evan's eyes. He'd started therapy, reluctant at first, dragged by Lila's insistence to a counselor in Columbus, but sessions unearthed ghosts he'd thought exorcised. She says it's guilt. He confessed one night, sheets twisted around us like restraints. For leaving him behind. For choosing this, he gestured between us. Over the easy lie, I traced his knuckles, bruised from a stubborn faucet. Guilt doesn't mean you owe him your peace. He nodded, but sleep evaded him, his snores replaced by restless turns. The climax crashed on the 4th of July, fireworks exploding over the fairgrounds like artillery in our private war. We'd planned low-key, beers on the porch, distant booms lighting the sky. But as dusk bled to night, Evan's phone lit up, Trent's name flashing insistent. Ignore it, I urged, hand on his thigh, but he hesitated, thumb hovering. Just one call. To end it. His voice was plea and promise. I nodded, throat tight, and watched him step inside, door ajar. Fragments carried on the breeze. Can't keep doing this. Move on. Then silence, thick, broken by a chair's scrape. He emerged minutes later, face ashen, keys in hand. Gotta go. He's at the river. Says he's gonna jump if I don't come. My stomach plummeted. It's a trap, Evan. He's manipulating. Maybe. But if there's even a chance. His eyes pleaded. The man who'd fixed my pipes now fracturing his own resolve. Go, I whispered, hating the word. But come back. He kissed me hard, tasting of salt and sparkler smoke, and peeled out, taillights vanishing into the dark. Hours crawled. Fireworks peaked and faded, neighbors' cheers mocking my vigil. I paced the porch, phone clutched like a talisman, Texts unanswered. You okay? Please respond. Midnight tolled. Then one. The crickets chorus a dirge. When headlights swept the drive at 2 a.m., relief warred with dread. Evan staggered from the truck. Shirt untucked. A gash above his eye oozing. He's okay, he rasped, collapsing onto the steps. Talked him down. Cops came, suicide watch. I knelt, dabbing the cut with my sleeve, anger bubbling. And you? What the hell? Evan, you could have called. Phone died. Like, thin as gauze. His eyes skated away, and there it was, the cologne. Faint but foreign, clinging like accusation. Trent, I said, not a question. He flinched. Nothing happened. He was wrecked, hugging me, thanking. A hug, sarcasm dripped. In the middle of his breakdown. Sure, Connor, please. He gripped my wrist, desperate. It's not. Stop. I yanked free, standing, the night air electric with unsaid storms. You ran to him. Again. When you promised. I saved a life, he roared, surging up, our faces inches apart. Fireworks afterglow lit his fury. What was I supposed to do? Let him drown while you sulked? Sulked? The word ignited me. I've stood by you, through rumors, lost jobs, all of it. And you repay me by chasing your ex like some white knight? What am I? Evan? The consolation prize. You're my life. Tears tracked his cheeks, mixing with blood. But he was there, in the water, and I froze, remembering us at 16. How I left him to this. Left him. I laughed. Hollow. You didn't leave, you grew. Or tried to. He deflated, shoulders slumping. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm still that scared kid, patching leaks instead of facing floods. The confession gutted me, raw and real. Rain began, fat drops hissing on hot pavement, mirroring the downpour inside. Then fix it, I choked. Or lose me, he reached, but thunder cracked, and I turned, fleeing inside, door slamming like finality. He pounded once, Connor, then silence, his truck's engine a receding sob in the deluge. Morning brought clarity's cruel light. The gash on his brow needed stitches. I found him at the ER, Lila's text a beacon. He looked wrecked, stitched and somber, eyes hollow. I told him, he said softly, as I hovered in the doorway. Trent. That it's over. For good. Got a restraining order pending. Relief flickered, dim. And us. He held out a hand, tentative. If you'll have me, I choose you. Every broken pipe, every storm, I took it, palm to palm, the room beeping monitors a heartbeat chorus. Forgiveness isn't clean. It's gritty, like solder on copper. We left together, his arms slung heavy around me, the drive home wordless but weighted with intent. Rebuilding started small, therapy doubles, his and mine, weaving our threads tighter. We attended pride events in Cleveland, hands linked defiant, the city's pulse a reminder that love breathes freer in crowds. Back home, allies multiplied. Pete rehiring Evan with a gruff, don't fuck it up, and foes faded. Trent's drama relocating to a halfway house upstate. Yet the scar tissue pulled, twinging at triggers, late calls, unexplained absences. One August night, as cicadas hummed lullabies, we lay on a blanket in the yard, stars pricking the black. What if it's never enough? He murmured, head on my chest. Then we keep trying. I kissed his temple, tasting summer salt. Love isn't a fix, it's the flow. He smiled, faint but true, and in that humanistic grace, the mess of mending, we found our rhythm, pipes holding, hearts leaking just enough to grow. Autumn wove in gold and crimson, leaves carpeting Elm Street like a forgiving shroud, burying summer's scorch under crunchy layers of possibility. Evan and I settled into a tentative harmony, the kind forged in fire, stronger, but etched with caution. Mornings began with coffee shared over the sink, his lips brushing my shoulder as he poured. Evenings ended with walks along the rail trail, fingers interlaced, the rusting tracks a metaphor for paths reclaimed. The town, ever the fickle jury, shifted. Whispers dulled to shrugs. The paper ran a fluff piece on the food drive, our names linked in community glow. Evan landed steady contracts, Renos for the library, a barn conversion for Old Man Wilkins, his toolbox a badge of resilience. Feels like breathing again, he said one crisp Saturday, hammer in hand as we tackled the attic together, dust motes dancing in sunbeams like confetti. I nodded, passing nails, the space transforming from haunt to haven. We make a good team, his grin flashed, wicked. In more ways than one, laughter led to sawdust-streaked kisses, bodies pressing amid insulation rolls, the attic slant a conspirator in our play. Love, post-storm, tasted sweeter, urgent, grateful, laced with the wisdom of what's nearly lost. But humanism demands depth, not fairy dust. Evan's therapy unearthed more than guilt. It cracked open his father's ghost, the dairy farmer who'd branded him weak before the cancer claimed him. He died hating me. Evan confessed over cider at the harvest fair, hay bales soft under us, lantern light gilding his face. Never said goodbye proper. I squeezed his hand, the crowd's bustle a buffer. Forgive him anyway. For you, he pondered, then nodded, a weight lifting visible. Yeah. And you? Your folks, still radio silence, postcards at holidays. Thinking of you, I shrugged, duller now. It's their loss. We danced then, to the band's twangy cover of an old Springsteen tune, bodies swaying loose, his chin on my shoulder. I turned, some curious, some cold, but we spun on, a quiet revolution in boot-scuffed dirt. Winter's approach brought tests of metal. Trent's halfway house floundered. He wrote once, a scrawled note via Lila, sorry for the wreckage. Be happy. Evan burned it unread. Ashes swirled in the wind, closure in cinders. My own demon reared closer to solstice. A call from Mark, my ex, voice slurry with eggnog and loneliness. Heard you're shacked up with the plumber. Town talk says it's hot. Laughter, forced. Missed that fire. Con. I hung up, pulse racing, and told Evan straight no omissions. He listened, jaw set, then pulled me close. You're mine now. Past's just pipes we capped. His possessiveness, once a spark, now grounded me, a vow renewed in the firelight. Christmas Eve, snow blanketing the world soft. We hosted again, bigger this time, tables groaning with tamales from Lila's kitchen, queer kids from the meetup wide-eyed at the tree's glow. Evan proposed a toast, glass raised, to leaks fixed, and the ones that teach us to flow. Cheers rippled, and later, as guests departed in flurries, he knelt by the hearth, ring box creaking open, a simple band, tungsten etched with our initials. Marry me, Connor. Not for show. For us. Tears pricked, I pulled him up, kissing fierce. Yes. God. Yes. The new year dawned married in all but ink. Vows whispered under quilts. Rings glinting as hands explored promises. We honeymooned local. A cabin in Hocking Hills. Trails winding through ancient woods. Nights by the fire where bodies and souls merged seamless. Back in Milford, life layered on. A joint business venture, Hayes and Whitaker Home Repairs, blending my designs with his fixes. The sign went up in spring. Bold letters on the shop front. A beacon for the town's hidden hurts. Years folded like bellows, breathing us fuller. We adopted a rescue mutt, Jasper, who tripped over his paws and our feet with equal glee. The meetup grew, a safe harbor for youth navigating their own storms. Evan spoke at Pride, voice steady. Love isn't fixed, it's fluid. And that's its grace. Challenges came, health scares, a recession biting jobs, but we weathered, patches holding through floods of fortune and fate. On our 5th anniversary, porch swing creaking under doubled weight, Evan traced my ring. Remember the leak? Thought it was the house breaking. I leaned into him, sunset painting us amber. Nah, it was us. Cracking open to let the light in. He kissed me slow, the world fading to our shared breath. In that American heartland tableau, porch light flickering, dogs snoring at our feet, stars wheeling above, we embodied the human we've, flawed, fierce, flowing onward. No tidy bows, just the quiet triumph of two men who chose mend over shatter, love over leak. And in that choice, we found home, not in walls, but in each other's unyielding hold.